Walking away leaves behind a very particular kind of quiet. Not the restful kind. The kind that eats at somebody from the inside. My lovely anomalies, let's talk about what happens after you stop showing up. Let's begin. Some people don't actually want you. They want what having you around does for them. The attention, the energy, the constant supply they never had to earn. So when that supply just stops, there's no replacing it. They'll play it off in public, post like nothing happened, laugh a little too hard at things that aren't even funny, mention your name like you were just a contact they deleted. But alone, late, when there's nothing left to perform for, that's when it lands. That's when losing you actually starts to cost something. Nobody appreciates what's steady and constant. People get comfortable, then careless, then completely blind to what's right there in front of them. It's just how people work, taking things for granted until they're gone. It's only once you're actually gone, once there's no voice to expect, no shadow at the door, that the version of events they'd been telling themselves stops holding together. Distance has a way of exposing things proximity let them ignore. Ever notice how people always resurface eventually? It's rarely because they finally understood something. Usually it's guilt, the realization that whatever they built without you turns out to be exactly as hollow as they were. They'll dress it up as nostalgia or missing the old days. Underneath that, though, it's fear. The fear that you were the one real thing in their life, and they threw it away without noticing. You might be tempted to think you need them to come back, need them to finally say the right thing. You don't. Their opinion was never the currency that mattered. What actually carries weight is your own refusal to keep performing for an audience that stopped deserving one. Most people fill silence with noise because silence forces them to sit with themselves, and that's uncomfortable. But silence is exactly where power lives. In the space where you used to be, they'll finally hear everything they never said out loud. This isn't going to haunt them the way a memory usually does. It's going to sit there as proof of what they threw away, sharper than nostalgia, colder than regret. It's not fair, and neither is what you're teaching them by simply not being there anymore. You mattered. You were warmth they didn't earn, and now the room's colder without you in it. Yes, it costs something to walk away, too. Don't pretend it doesn't. That ache is proof you're still someone who can feel things fully, unlike them. So when the apology finally shows up, rehearsed and hollow, look at it clearly. Remember exactly what it took to choose yourself over their empty comfort. Then let yourself smile. The kind of smile that says the window already closed. Time doesn't patch anything up. It just makes what was always broken more obvious. They'll try filling the space you left with new people, new noise, anything to drown out the absence. It never quite works. Late at night, once the distractions go quiet, they'll notice none of it comes close to what they had. You weren't replaceable, and that fact will sit with them like something they can't put down. None of this was ever about making them suffer for sport. It's about you finding out what you're actually made of, in a world that tried hard to convince you otherwise, to make you doubt every instinct you had. Your value was never something other people got to assign or take away. It lived in you the whole time, the exact thing that drew them to you in the first place, before they decided they couldn't handle it. They'll call you the villain of the story, claim you're the one who turned cold. Let them. Villains are usually just the ones who refuse to keep playing along with someone else's comfortable version of events. And your truth is the one story they'll never manage to rewrite, no matter how many versions of it they tell other people. Here's something nobody puts on a poster. The world doesn't automatically care what you went through in private. It stays indifferent, until your silence starts outweighing their noise. And that's what winning actually looks like, standing on your own, without needing anyone's approval to prove you were worth something all along. You won't fade into a forgettable memory. You'll become the thing that never fully stops bothering them, a thought that resurfaces uninvited, a familiar ache with no clear cause. This isn't punishment, it's simply consequence, the natural cost of losing something real. You were unfiltered and genuine in a way they weren't built to handle, so they picked the easier road, avoiding themselves entirely. Now, without you around to distract from it, they're stuck looking straight at who they actually are. Whether they admit it or not, you've become the standard they measure everything else against, and everything else keeps falling short. Word will drift back to you eventually, the way it always does. How their laugh sounds different now. How their nights got quieter in the worst way, filled with a kind of silence they can't shake. You might feel a flicker of something, pity, maybe old habit, maybe an ache that hasn't fully left yet. Don't act on it. They picked comfort over what was real, over the fire you actually brought into their life. And now that truth they spent so long avoiding is finally loud enough to hear. People rarely mourn the thing itself. They mourn not appreciating it while they still could. You were too honest, too much, for people who'd built their whole life around comfortable lies. But this isn't the end of your story. It's closer to the beginning. Everything you're carrying gets turned into something solid now. The one thing that scares people more than the truth is someone who no longer needs their approval to function. You're no longer shaped by their opinion of you. You are too much for them to hold on to, and now you're the kind of memory that keeps resurfacing long after they thought they'd moved past it. That's real freedom. Distance doesn't just affect them, it changes you too. It toughens you in ways you didn't expect. Let them assume your quiet means you lost. It doesn't. Real silence isn't surrender, it's refusal. Refusing to perform, refusing to explain yourself, refusing to beg for scraps of attention. It says plainly, I'm no longer playing by those terms. Eventually they'll test the water, a hesitant message sent late at night when regret gets loud. They'll claim they didn't realize what they had. That old ache might flicker for a second. But remember every night you questioned your own worth just to keep a peace that only ever served them. You rebuilt yourself from nothing, alone. Don't hand that back just because they finally noticed. The moment you stop responding, stop giving them the reaction they're fishing for, that's when it actually gets to them. It's not about winning you back anymore. It's the realization that they can't. Their part in your life is over, and they're left holding a story that no longer includes them. That's a real hit to the ego. Nobody prepares for the day someone stops centering them. The exact thing they underestimated in you, how much you were willing to give, becomes the thing they miss most. But you gain something bigger than their delayed regret. You found yourself. The version that doesn't shrink for anyone's comfort. The one whose worth was never up for a vote. Don't grieve what's gone. Don't let their guilt become your burden. Stand in it. Let your absence say what you don't have to. Right before sunrise, in that dead quiet hour, is when people who've got nothing left to hide from finally face what they've done. That's when your absence stops being a passing thought and starts feeling like weight in their chest. They'll act unbothered in daylight. It's easy with noise around to hide behind. But in that pre-dawn silence, nothing's left to distract from it. People chase what's just out of their grasp, but you're not just out of reach anymore. You're gone completely, and the memory only sharpens the harder they try to bury it. Your absence won't fade quietly. It'll be the thing that keeps them up, flashing one word on repeat: regret. They'll tell themselves a story where you changed. The real truth, the one that keeps them tossing at night, is that you didn't change. You simply stopped tolerating less than you deserved. One day they'll spot you somewhere, different now, steadier, with eyes that don't search for their approval anymore, and it'll hit hard. All the moments, gone for good. Maybe they'll send a casual, "How have you been?" like the distance between you was an accident instead of something they built. But you'll already know. What they lost wasn't just you. It was the version of you who thought their love was worth shrinking for. Even if they finally admit, quietly, that losing you was the biggest mistake they made, it changes nothing. This story doesn't end with them winning you back. It ends with them sitting in a silence they created, finally understanding they were the villain the whole time. Let them scroll old messages. Let them smile in public while it eats at them privately. You keep moving, one step at a time, into a life that no longer waits on their approval. Eventually you'll look back and realize choosing yourself wasn't just the better option. It was the only one that made sense. Their silence will end up saying more than any apology ever could. Loyalty without respect was never really loyalty. It was just a leash. The moment you cut it and stepped into something better, you left behind an emptiness that doesn't stay quiet for long. It pulls at them, reminds them constantly that something's missing and that it's entirely their doing. They'll try filling that space with people who don't know them the way you did, people who won't call out the cracks. That distraction has a shelf life. Once you've actually been seen by someone, anything less starts to feel counterfeit. Walking away was never just a small decision. It was a statement that you refuse to be an afterthought in anyone's life ever again. You've learned that closure was never theirs to hand you. It's something you decide for yourself, and that's exactly where your power comes from now. They'll reach for old memories of who you used to be around them. Those memories don't comfort you anymore. They haunt them instead. You've become the wound that never fully closes. Even buried under distraction, there'll be nights it resurfaces, and your absence will say more than words ever could. So what's next? You keep going. You take everything that hurt and turn it into momentum. You build something that doesn't just survive the loss, it outgrows it completely. You become someone they can't reach anymore, and from the sidelines, carrying regret they'll never quite name out loud. They'll watch your absence do exactly what it was always going to do. By the time they work up the nerve to admit any of it, you'll already be somewhere they can't follow. Untouchable, unreachable. And they'll finally understand the quiet that used to belong to you. They lost it, not you. Joker.